Hello and welcome to Superpowers. I'm your host, Carl Fink, and today I've got a great show for you. I have as my guest Sarah Honeycutt. And Sarah has developed a program where you can literally rewrite parts of your past, certain traumas or things that you have incorporated in your growing up that were negative beliefs that you need to get rid of. And she's got this beautiful program called Core Empowerment. And by using Core Empowerment, you can literally rewrite those moments of your history and change your present. And so we will say hello to Sarah. Hi,
Hello.
Sarah.
Hi.
Nice to have you here with us today.
Nice to be here. Thank you for inviting me.
So I want to just start and introduce our audience to you a little bit and just tell us a little bit about Sarah and who you are, where you came from, and then what led up to your developing Core Empowerment.
Where did that come from? All right. I was raised in Southern California. I had a very dysfunctional childhood, but I raised 3 children by myself, and now I've moved back to Los Angeles. I've written a couple of books. But this one actually touched my heart as a result of going through some serious psychotherapy. No one had any answers for me as to how I could be completely rid of my childhood. And so I developed this technique, which it always does. It rewrites the negative messages that we receive as a child, and I received a lot of them. And it rewrites it in the same way that you would take a script, or you would say, no, I don't think I like that part of it anymore, and you would delete it.
Right.
And you'd rewrite it.
Yeah, yeah. So tell me a little bit about that. How did that occur to you, that that was something that was even possible?
I didn't think it was possible. I just thought, well, I'm just going to have to limp along with it, and it's not true. For a lot of years, I was a massage therapist. And I noticed this one particular time that I had my hand over this very nice man's head at a luxury spa in Reno. And light came through his head, came down into his body. And I thought it was a candle flickering and going out.
Right.
Or it was maybe somebody turned on the lights outside and I didn't know what it was. So I put my hand over where the light stopped.
Right.
And here's this big burly truck driver, big hairy burly cross-country truck driver. And he began to speak to me because he was very chatty, in what I would consider baby talk. So I took my hand off because I thought he was just very gruff. And then he talked like that. So I thought, what's that? It scared me.
Right.
So then he kind of hemmed and hawed and didn't know exactly what was happening. So I put my hand over again, and he remembered an event in his childhood that was very traumatic.
Right.
So I said, and this is where that light and spirit comes in, I said, with my hand over that spot, I said, what would you like to do? He said, well, I need to save that little boy. I said, great idea, thinking to myself, and?
Right.
How do we do that? So he pretended, and this was the first time that I ever experienced it, he pretended he was a champion, a warrior, a hero. Mm-hmm. And he saved the little boy and destroyed the adult that had brought pain to that little boy.
Right.
And it made a huge difference in his whole life. He came back every month on his national sojourn, and he'd come in and have another treatment. Right. And I learned that light is there are lots of healing techniques, and I think it's wonderful. But he didn't know that he had a real problem. He just knew he had a terrible childhood, so what?
Sure.
I had always heard that when you die, you go into that darkness, and then you go to the light. Mm-hmm. But it had never been explained to me. I had never ever heard that you can access that light while you're perfectly awake. It's not hypnosis.
Right.
And that light will show you within your body where you have an error message. It's like on a computer.
Interesting.
If you have
Yeah.
a virus in your computer, you can try to make it work, but it really never works until you get the virus out.
Right.
And that's what core empowerment does. It takes that virus out. But if you don't know where it is, you allow that light to come in. With him, it stopped right at his chest.
Mm-hmm.
He'd had a real broken heart because of
Right.
what happened. And
Right.
so once that was done, then the light, when you're clear, is what I call it, it goes all the way through.
Mm-hmm. So now a question just
Sure.
to his story specifically, just for clarification.
Of course.
So the little boy that he wanted to save was really him
Yes.
as a child.
Right.
And
it
so
was
now,
his inner child.
now what he was able to do as an adult and from an adult perspective was to go in and change that event.
That scene.
Essentially, yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah. So if you were thinking of your life as, you know, a movie, or if you were thinking of it as
Exactly.
as
A story.
a story or a script or something, it's you know, I don't like that chapter back in the beginning
Right.
any longer. I want to do something else.
And you can rewrite it in
Right.
the same way that you can do block out a part and go Control Alt Delete and it's gone.
Right. Well, that's interesting. Now, here's an interesting thought. It affects. It's affected his present, for sure.
Yes.
You were saying that. Do you suppose that it's kind of like those travel back in time things where, you know, you go back in time and you accidentally step on a butterfly and then everything is different, you know, from that moment forward? Do you suppose that things prior to his present moment too, like say in college or anything like that, it shifted those because that event then was rewritten?
Probably not.
Right.
But for absolutely sure, it does. It affected him from that moment forward.
Right.
And I believe in past lives, so he may have brought forth that energy
Yeah.
that drew his parents in. That's a little esoteric, but anyway, drew his parents in who were going to bring out that issue in him
Right.
so that he could learn his lesson, whatever the lesson was.
Right. Right.
So from that standpoint, yes, it fixes whatever you fix in this present time, fixes everything in the past and fixes everything in the future.
Right.
So he never has to go through that lesson again.
Now, okay, so it's really interesting that happened, first of all, when it did, and kudos to you for observing it and seeing that and seeing that pattern and how it worked. I'm curious what you think it was that was the catalyst for that light showing up when you were, you know, in the middle of the massage. Yeah. I mean, do you think that you did that, or do you think it just came, or what do you think the origin of that was?
It came for him, but
Okay.
I was ready to see it.
Right. Okay.
We're not always ready to see
Yeah.
things.
No, I know.
And I was ready because my own life, the messages and memories that I had from my life, my childhood, were horrific.
Right.
And, you know, the psychologist and psychiatrist said, well, now that you know what happened, now you just have to deal with it.
Right.
And they had no tools to deal with it.
That's right, yes. Yeah, just go and just deal with it and
And how do you do that?
come back at $250 an hour
Right.
for the rest of your
For
life.
the rest of your life. And I thought, no. My parents stole my childhood because of their own issues. I didn't want anybody stealing any more of them stealing my future.
Right. Right.
And that was my first experience doing it at all. But my second experience was with a woman who had terminal lung cancer. Her cancer was so extreme, and she'd been an opera singer.
Right.
And the cancer, she was just ready to die, and the doctor said, well, you probably ought to just go get a massage and relax and get your papers in order and get ready.
Right.
Which is awful. Anyway, so she came in for a massage. And I suggested to her that we maybe use this light because I didn't know what it would be called or anything. Well, would you like it? And she said, I have nothing to lose.
Right.
And over a period, she'd come in every week, but it took not even a month for the cancer to be stopped. It wasn't me. It's not me. It was
Right.
that light
Right.
that showed her how she could become empowered.
Right.
When she was little, her father had abused her sexually, and what he had done is he had taken a pillow by the side of the bed, and he said, "You ever tell anybody, I'm putting this pillow over your face, and you'll never breathe again." And so, knowing what I know about chakras, and you too, that's where it stuck, was in her lungs.
Right.
And if an issue doesn't get released, it will stay there, and eventually it'll kill you.
Right.
You know, because it won't move without the right tools.
Yeah. Now here, I have another question for
Yeah.
you, because, and everything that I'm talking about, by the way, will be leading to how core empowerment for people, you know, in
Right.
our audience, you know, how they can apply it in their lives, and they can find the transformations, you know, to challenges that they're having. So, so now here's my question. Going back to the light again. Are you calling forth that light? Are you asking it to come in? Is the person that you're working with asking that light to come in? How is that element facilitated?
I'm encouraging my clients, never patients, but my clients, to allow the light. They have homework to do. The homework is you breathe, you ground, and you open to the light. You don't pull it, you don't push it, you allow it.
Yeah, okay.
And when they allow it, and a lot of times they're afraid to allow it to begin with, but then after they allow it, it will come in and show them just where they need to work.
Right.
Which is wonderful.
I agree.
How fabulous to,
I
you know.
agree.
And
Well, because that would be the next question.
Right.
Then is, you know, you might be that truck driver. You might be the woman who had the cancer. Most people, when they find themselves in those situations, they don't really know what the source of that challenge is, or what's bringing that
No.
forward.
No,
They're
they don't.
experiencing the symptoms of it, and they know those, but they don't know why it's happening. Most people who have any sort of disease,
Yeah,
they're
you don't
just
know.
they just feel like that it's something that
It
came
just
and
happens.
It just happened. Yeah.
I don't know what happened. I was walking down the street and got something.
Yes. Right.
So that is true. In my book, I explain how it goes. You know, you learn to breathe, really core breathing, really yogic breath.
Right.
And then you ground and you anchor yourself firmly to the earth. Because
Yeah.
when you're sick or upset or emotional, whatever the issue is, you tend to be a hot air balloon and you kind of bounce around
Right.
and you can't really focus on anything.
Right.
So this trains your body to anchor to the earth as 100% human.
Yeah.
And then when the light comes in, and once you're clear, then you're 100% spirit. So you're both.
Right.
And you'll know when you're done or where you need to work, because the light will come in and then it'll just stop.
Wow.
Just like it did with that man.
Yeah, it just stopped right where he needed it to stop.
Right,
I want to
right
just
at that moment.
show everybody your book here. This is Core Empowerment, and the author, Sarah Honeycutt. And so now, does this contain your program for people, or
Yes.
is okay? So. And it's kind of like a user's manual in a way, and
It
people
is.
can read that. And
It is.
yeah, okay,
It's more than that, too. It shows, at the beginning of the book, I explain how we get dysfunctional thoughts. And how do we know? For example, there's a whole section in there. How do we know that we've been abused? How do we know that?
Right.
Because the human mind is so wonderful. It just erases whatever is unpleasant as a child.
right,
Well, I don't remember summer, whatever, you know.
yeah, yeah,
So it's a tutorial all the way through. What do you need to do? Now, I also know that it is difficult to do deep core work right at the very beginning, because it's scary.
right,
You know, you think, how do I know? And am I doing it right? And all of that.
right, yeah,
So I have, over the years now, I have set up the Honeycutt School of Core Empowerment, where I teach people who are clear how to do this with other people.
Right. Yeah.
Because you can't just, one person just can't do it worldwide.
No, you can't. You have to duplicate yourself.
Right.
Now, here would be my question for you, though. If somebody gets your book and they're going through it and they're meticulously following what you've put in your book, is it possible for them to guide themselves through the process, or is it better to work with somebody?
It's easier to work with somebody, but it is definitely possible to do it using just the book.
Right.
So the first part of the book is what is dysfunction, physical, emotional, spiritual, whatever it is. How do we get there? And then who is this very strange woman who's writing this book? Where did she get off?
Yes. And how does she know so many things about me?
How'd she know that?
Yeah.
So then there's a section of my life and what my traumas were, and validated by police departments and the whole thing. So then at that point, then the technique. I start with the technique. This work works unbelievably well on the phone. Energy is energy. They don't have to be in my presence.
Right.
Some people want to be, some people, it doesn't matter. Most people that I have worked with, and I have 420 people that I've personally worked with over the years that are just fine. And a lot of them, not all, because we all have different needs and wants and goals, but a lot of them work at least part-time doing core empowerment.
Do they?
On friends of theirs, on people that have heard about it and whatever. So I want it to be well known. I want it to be known worldwide, that you don't have to be stuck in a memory, a path that is causing you nothing but pain.
Yeah. Well, which is why we're here, which is what,
I know,
what we're doing.
I'm so excited.
Our whole goal is to give people access to different modalities so that they can get beyond whatever challenges they might be having and find the transformations and the healing that they're seeking. So now, you say that it works really well on the phone. I know from past experience and live streaming I've done with different people, you know, for example, Brazzo and with Masajati, that those energies are also very well embedded into video, and video presentations.
Energy is energy.
Might that be something that you consider, you know, putting together like you know, webinar or online series to work with people, and you could maybe, you know, lead them through then the book or however you would do it. I mean, you would know how.
Absolutely. I can teach it, but if somebody's going to be revealing and working on something like childhood sexual abuse, which is rampant around the world, then there is a certain, not deserved, but there's a certain shame about it. Like, oh, I don't want to talk about that. Or if I talk about that and my family hears this, then they're never going to speak to me again. They're going to say I'm a liar. So they just stuff it.
Yeah.
So that's where an individual session will come in. But if it's, I'm not successful in business, I'm not, that works in an audience situation really well. It's just those very tender emotional issues that have to be handled privately.
Yeah. So, because it's fun to hear the stories, any other stories that that come to mind of things that just stand out for you in terms of working this process with people?
Yes, one wonderful one. And while I really like Western medicine, I think it has a lot of answers, but it doesn't have all the answers. A woman that I met had stage 4 breast cancer, and she lived up in Lake Tahoe when I lived in Reno. And so she came down, we started having sessions, and, you know, the doctors said, well, you know, this is how it is. That's all. You can't do anything about it. So we worked. Her stage 4 cancer went away. It isn't, I'm not the healer. It is that light and the body that is
Right.
the healer. So her cancer went away, and she went back to the doctor, and the doctor said, "Oh, well, silly me, we just misdiagnosed it. You never had cancer." Because they had to say something.
That's a serious misdiagnosis for stage 4. I can maybe see how
No.
the
Yeah.
beginnings of something, they
know.
might go, oh, that's not what that was at all. We misinterpreted. But boy, that's a bad call. Stage
is.
4.
Oops.
Yeah.
Little more than an oops.
Yeah. Yeah.
Then I worked with a woman, a young woman, an Olympic soccer player. So she's a sturdy kind of a girl. Well, her parents said, "Too bad you're not a willowy little tiny thing." And she just wasn't. She was strong and healthy and fun. And so they said, the message to her, I mean, audibly and subconsciously those messages were, you're never going to find a man, you're never going to be happy, you're never,
Right.
So we worked. She wanted abundance and she wanted love.
Right.
So we worked on that, and that was that light stuck in her heart. We got rid of the issue, and the following week, and sometimes it takes longer, but not always. Light
Yeah.
works very quickly.
Yes, it does.
So that following week, she went to a party, met a delightful man. She said, but he never would say what he did. And she said, I don't know, maybe he's a crook. I don't know what that was. Very nice man. Turns out he was president and CEO of Mailboxes, etc. She got both. She got abundance,
Wow.
that is amazing,
Right.
and she got the love of a man who just adores her.
Wow.
And still, they're living in I think it's Cincinnati.
Wow.
I know. So it works on anything. We're designed to be whole, healthy, and happy.
Right.
We get messages that are to the contrary. For example, if you were to cut your hand, you could wash it off and put a Band-Aid on or something, a little ointment and Band-Aid, and it'd be fine. You don't need to give instructions
Right.
how to heal
That's right. Yes.
or how to be happy and how to be healthy.
Yeah, your body pretty well knows what to do.
It knows exactly what to do. However, if we stand there and we poke at it with a stick, we irritate it, you know where this is going. Eventually,
we
it can
say this
kill
is
you.
never going to heal.
It's never. Who do you think you are? You're not going to heal.
Right.
And as a result of that, eventually the whole body, after gangrene and losing and all that, the whole organism can die because of one negative irritant.
Right.
So what this does is it allows the body to heal. It allows the emotions to be and flourish and have what the person absolutely wants. Maybe they want something totally different than I would want.
Right.
It's okay.
Yeah.
I usually say that you get to have your own mistakes
There you go.
and your own championships,
Right.
but it's not all right to have somebody else's negative messages dictate who you are.
Agreed. Agreed.
So yes, you can use it as a tool. The book is great as a tool.
Now I see too that we've got DVD here.
Yep.
And
I did the audio on it.
you did. Okay. So
It's
is this
professionally done.
is this just an audio? Is this a CD or it's an actual DVD? And
No, it's an audio.
It is. Okay. And tell us a little bit about this and
It
how
is. A good friend of mine in Reno was a Hollywood producer and moved to Reno, and I met him, and he had an issue that needed to be worked on, and so we traded. He said, I have a sound studio here in Reno. Would you like to do an audio book? And I said, oh, yes. So that took a while to do because I'm not a professional speaker. I just speak from my heart. And he said, no, I'm going to straighten it out. But it is exactly the same as the book.
It is. Okay. All right.
And it is, done by me. So, and I did the specific parts that related to my childhood. I did them in a young way. I didn't do them as an adult speaking. I mean, I didn't do baby talk.
Right.
But I focused on how I felt as a child because I
Yeah.
wanted people who have had childhood traumas. I wanted them to know, oh, she really does know what this is about.
Right.
This is not something that she just made up or she saw a movie or whatever.
Right. Yeah.
So
That you experienced and that you really know.
I wanted my inner child to talk to their inner child.
Right. Yeah. So tell me a little bit about, now you've been doing this for a while and you've been working with people for a while.
Almost 20 years now.
Wow.
It's really good.
Wow.
I know.
So what are, do you find that there are common patterns among people that you meet with, or is everybody
Good question.
really
Good
unique?
question. Everybody is unique, but almost everybody has a belief within them that they're not enough. Who do you think you are?
Right.
You're not enough. You're too tall, too short, too fat, too young, too whatever. You're not right.
Yeah. Right.
And very, very often, well-intentioned parents don't want children to be egotistical and arrogant. That's not what happens when you tell a child he's amazing. He knows the world is his oyster, and then you kind of correct if he gets a little pushy.
Right.
You
Yeah.
correct that, but you don't tell him that he's not enough, because then he lives that.
Right. Yeah. That's
How-
interesting. How does it, did people ever give you kind of specific examples of how that unfolded? You gave some, but, you know, just because I think that really is very pervasive. We are
Oh, yeah.
very self-critical, and we look at ourselves, and you're right. There's always, I'll bet you right now, everybody could think of at least one thing about themselves that they would like to change that isn't just right. You're just not quite perfect.
It's either the way you look, the way you think, the way you talk, the way. For people that have had that experience with their parents or caretakers, they never can do it right. And then, based on the law of attraction, you meet other people who say, "Nope, you did that wrong. Nope, didn't do that right."
Reinforce that you aren't quite right.
And I love what Esther Hicks says. She said, when she makes a mistake, she used to just beat herself up. Now she says, that wasn't my finest work. And then she goes on.
Right. Yeah.
Puts it aside. And some people are so stuck with the guilt and the shame and whatever.
Right.
And most times it's imagined errors.
Yeah.
You don't take a baby when they're first toddling around, and when they fall down, you don't say, well, that's it. You're
You
done.
are just not
You're
a good
done.
walker, are
You're
you?
just not. And you're never going to get to do that again. All through life, we learn. All through life, we try something and we go, I think I want to do that differently.
Yeah.
Or then we try something, we say, wow, if I could do that, maybe I could do that.
Sure. Yeah. They're just really more like stepping stones. And you
Right.
get to this one, you say, well, if I refined that and I did this a little differently, then I can
Exactly.
get to this next step. And thank goodness for this one that I stepped on.
taught
because,
ya.
yeah, it did. It taught me a lot. And now I can take what I've learned and move to this next one.
Exactly.
Yeah. Yeah.
But when you have the yeah buts, when you have the, that's going to be my next book. If we have the belief within us, because everything we do is based on our belief, our self-belief. It's not based on merit. We can be successful financially and be lousy people.
Right.
Not based on merit. It's what we believe. If we believe we're smarter, better than anybody else, and I can walk on you and it doesn't matter, you get to do that. Free moral agency. But of course, there's karma after that. So you do
Sure.
pay eventually.
Yeah. Now you get to experience it.
Yeah, the flip side. Exactly.
Yeah.
So it's a very powerful technique. It requires very little from you. It just requires that you learn to breathe and ground and allow that light. And I've worked with lots of people who have been able to do that. And the light came in, and then they'd get stuck on some place that was particularly sensitive, particularly, and inner children are they can be they're not multidimensional. They're energies that have taken not a form, but a belief. The more you believe something, the more solid it becomes. Everything on the planet, everything anywhere has had a beginning as a thought, and then it goes on to a belief, and then it happens. So if that belief is good, then you get to be really, very successful in everything.
Right. Now, is there a way to, for people to, let's say they identify a belief, that is there a way then to coach themselves into changing that? I don't think that's really what core empowerment does, but I'm just wondering.
But it can, absolutely. If you are so in tune that you remember, or maybe it was just told to you over and over and over and over and over, you're not enough, you're not enough, you're just not enough.
Yeah, right.
Then at that point, when you realize what that issue is, then you can, affirmations are helpful, but they don't fix the belief.
Right.
And so at that point, you can, depending on kind of, not level of spirituality, but on your motivation, you can allow that light to come in, because I did this by myself. I didn't have anybody coach me. It would have been nice.
Right, yes.
It would have been
could
lovely.
have done it maybe faster.
So when that light comes in, then you just allow it and say, all right, I can handle anything in my life, but this, I need some help. And you ask your angels, you ask your guides, and they will, what I have people do is surround that negative belief, that virus in your computer, that negative concept in a bubble of light. And then you allow the light to go in, and it will show you in that bubble what it is. It'll either be a feeling, it'll be a thought, it'll be a message, it'll be words written across.
Right.
It'll be like, not good enough, or whatever. And then you take that, surround that in a bubble of light, and you go into that and split that apart. And then you look in there, and almost always, I'd say 99% of the time, there's a little child inside of there. And then at that point, you can say, wait a minute, that's not right. And I'm going to fix it. So you go into that scene where the little child is, and then and you say, who is it that said you weren't enough? And they'll show you. And this isn't hypnosis, it's not magic, it's just a beautiful light experience. And the light keeps you protected too.
Yeah.
The child is surrounded in light. Nothing bad will happen to that child. And then I have the adult come into that scene, the one who is seeing the little child. And I call it cleaning their clock. I have them straighten out whoever it was that hurt the child.
Yeah.
At that point, the adult that is viewing all of this becomes that child's parent. And that's actually what we need to be anyway. We need to be our own advocate.
Right.
So I usually say to the child, it's you and me and God. That's it. The inner child, the adult, and source.
Right.
And light. And it doesn't matter what the religion is, doesn't matter. The light is indiscriminate. It's a free gift for everybody.
Well, and what I love about the way that you describe this, because it works with my paradigms, only from the standpoint that, I worked in television for 14 years and have written and produced and edited movies, and I know all about the editing thing, and I know all about getting it to tell a story that you want to tell, and then also, I mean, everybody uses computers and word processors, and they know about editing and going back and I love the idea that you can go in and it's not just deleting.
No, you reprogram it.
Yeah,
right.
It's saying, it's taking that moment. And I think that's the important part, because you don't want it missing. You want it.
Because then you have a hole.
You want it changed. Yeah, you don't want the hole. You want it fixed. And
So in that memory where the little child was being hurt by the adult, then the adult that you are comes in, throws that abusing parent away, and then at that point you rewrite.
Right.
And then you take the child, and then you're going to go to the park, or you're going to go sit on a park bench, and then you're going to tell that child just how amazing they are.
Right.
That's what makes it empowered in their core.
Okay, so and that's the part now that that I think is important, just for us to know and understand a little bit more now, is that process and that rewriting process. And how do we how would somebody that had a challenge, and let's say it is a belief,
It always becomes a belief, no matter what the action was. It's always
Okay.
a belief.
All right, so and so they have learned, they've sort of trained now their thinking, and they've trained sort of their process. It's in alignment with this set of beliefs. So then how are they capable of writing or rewriting something that is better, that will work? That's, I mean, do you, how do they know then what the next step is? And because, like for me, I can think of a lot of stuff that would be better. You know, but I think
Yeah.
it's possible to find yourself in that situation and you go, well, I don't know. And you
And a lot of people
and to
do.
also not want to make a mistake, right? Like you don't want to put in, you know, now you're in this place where you're sort of rewriting yourself. You don't want to put the wrong thing in there. So how do they know how to move forward?
Well, you only need to replace or rewrite just the negative.
Right.
If you had positive, then you keep that and you fill in that negative, that hole now, with statements like, you're an amazing, if it's a little child, I have them put them on their lap. And if they can't, I have a doll, and then they hold the doll and they say, you're an amazing person. You can do anything you want. All of this ties in then with the law of attraction.
Right.
Once you believe that you can have what you want, whatever it is, the law of attraction salutes and says, all right. And then good things begin to happen.
Right.
You pull good things in. That helps with the trust. But there is such an amazing, wonderful feeling when that light comes in and you can access goodness and happiness and positive stuff. Once the light comes in, I haven't known anyone who has said, well, now I'm going to disagree with this, or I'm not going to, you know, it can't be that good.
Right. Yeah.
Because they know, they've felt it deep within their own body. And it is that same thing. Once your body knows it can heal itself, like, oh, really?
Yeah.
So
Exactly.
that's where that positive change comes in. And it can be different for anybody. You know, it doesn't have to be the same.
Right.
We talked about that before. There isn't one right answer.
No, there wouldn't be. Right. Right. There would just be moving yourself though forward now on something that's positive, on something that
And you
feels
start
right.
out little. You know, if you didn't have a lot of positive, then you start out little.
Right.
And then you pull in positive, and then you think, oh, that was kind of cool. That's really nice. and then you're more inclined to go to the positive because you can't access the negative as well because your belief isn't negative anymore.
Right. Right.
So you don't pull in so much negative. That's not to say that LA traffic is always going to be good to you. But that's indiscriminate. That happens to everybody.
Everybody. That's right. Yeah.
But I'm sure you know that sometimes if you have a car accident, you're more likely to have another one and then another one right after it.
You know, I didn't know that, but I do know that people who get struck by lightning are more likely to get struck by lightning. Again.
Negative. We're magnets for what we have, what we believe inside.
Right.
Nothing more than magnets.
Yeah.
So if we think, well, I got struck by lightning, I hope that doesn't happen again. We've set up the vibration, and it can happen again. Amazingly, not delightfully, but amazingly quickly.
Right. Right.
Same thing when you have positive beliefs about who you are and what you deserve and what you want to do with what you deserve. Then the angels and the universe conspires to give you all that positive.
Now, for doing this process, when
Yeah.
you go through it, What sorts of timelines do people experience? Does it take a while? Do you need to keep revisiting? Is it
No,
something?
it is permanent,
Okay.
which I think is wonderful.
Right.
I've had people start and then stop. Something happened, they moved out of state or they, whatever.
Right.
And then they come back in 6 months or whatever. And they haven't disintegrated back to where they were before. Because once those energies are gone, they're gone.
They're gone. Okay.
Now the timeline, obviously everybody is different and everybody's history is different. But it's generally about 6 months.
Okay.
And it's shorter if you do the breathing, grounding, and open to the light.
Right.
The more you do that, I even give people little stickers, and they put them all around their house. They put them. You only have to do it once on the refrigerator.
Right.
Right on the refrigerator. So
There you go. Yeah.
Because everybody gets in the refrigerator. So
Sure.
then you breathe and you ground and you open to the light and then you open the refrigerator. That's it.
And then you open the refrigerator.
If we were Buddhist monks, and I think they're amazing and wonderful, but that's what they do all day. We don't have, most Americans, most people on the planet don't have that that luxury of time.
Right.
But we do need to train our bodies
Yeah.
over and over until it becomes such second nature. That also allows, as that light comes in, it keeps us clear, and it'll reveal sometimes down the road a little bit. I'll get calls. I got a little problem with my ankle. Oh, okay. Then we take care of that. I have people come back in a month after the 6 months time for what I call a tune-up. Because sometimes it's been really positive, but then there's this one thing that's negative, and
Right.
and sometimes it just, I don't know that it's so much like the onion being peeled as it is bubbling up.
Right. Right.
And then things that were really awful, those are gone. But now the little things that
Yeah,
bug us.
still refining. Still refining. It's still
Exactly.
little things percolating, and yeah, it's like you change anything, and then that's gone, and now it reveals other things that you might want to work on.
that are not as traumatic.
Right. Right. So, if somebody wants to, let's say they would like to explore core empowerment, or maybe work with you. So what do people need to know so that they could start down this path?
Well, they can, of course, get the book. It's on Amazon, but it also, along with the audiobook, is on Amazon as well. It's also on my website, coreempowerment.com,
Okay.
and that makes it kind of easy.
Yes.
You can find me on Facebook or on Twitter, whatever. You can find me anywhere.
Okay.
And then we can discuss it, because I've found that we need to discuss it first before someone immediately goes into a session.
Right. And would you recommend? I guess you talk to people, and do you work with people privately?
Absolutely.
Yeah. Okay.
Absolutely.
And do you find that people like to work with you privately, or they like to
Absolutely.
do it on
Well,
their own? Or is it-
they don't, most people don't really know what's inside, and it could be kind of scary.
Right.
Like, I don't want everybody knowing my problem.
Right.
So and then once they know it, you no doubt saw, once they know it and they've got it, then they write a testimonial saying,
Right.
and then that's okay.
Yeah.
But that's why small groups don't work too well. I can explain it
Right.
in a group, but as far as working with an individual, these are very sensitive subjects.
Right.
Even if it's not child abuse, if it's
Sure.
just you got a bad message. And sometimes people just don't want you, adults don't want you to get arrogant or full of yourself. Like, don't expect too much.
Don't expect it.
It happens all the time. Don't expect too much.
It's very pragmatic.
Then you won't be disappointed.
Yes, that's right. Yeah.
And so that never happens because they never expect much. And
It
they
is-
never get much.
It is too bad we didn't hear people telling us, if you're going to doubt anything, doubt your limits.
Yeah.
You know, that would have been the thing to hear.
I know.
Yeah.
But that's what you can tell your inner child.
Yeah.
You have no limits. You can do
Right.
anything you want to do.
Yeah.
which is, and then they're free to do whatever. You know, this isn't a religion, this isn't a cult, it's not even a psychotherapy treatment. It works deeply on the core where our beliefs and our motivations exist.
Right.
And when that's all gone, woohoo!
We're off. Yeah. Well, Sarah, thank you so much for coming
Thank
today.
you very much. I look forward to hearing from any of you. If you want to contact me, you may. My phone number is on the everything is on the website. So.
Okay. All right.
And I thank you very much
for
your time.
A pleasure to have you here. I'm very excited about core empowerment and very excited to help people find it so that they can
Thank you.
Get the transformations and the healing that they're looking for.
I thank you very much.
Okay. And that was Sarah Honeycutt. And if you'd like more information about core empowerment and how to work with Sarah, you can go to coreempowerment.com, where she also has the books, and she's got the audio book, and she does have a place where you can sign up to work with her privately if you'd like to do that. And I just think it's a great program and a wonderful way that you can go back and rewrite those moments in your history that you would like to change and move forward. So thank you for joining us today on another episode of Superpowers, and go out there and experience the extraordinary.